this is Evie the Odd, and I decided that I'm going to start doing scary stories because I look up to a lot of people who do scary stories, and I don't think the camera's on me. Okay, there's me. Okay, in all seriousness, I figured I have a good amount of information on the different sort of horror stories that seem to really drive my generation and the generations below me and above me, and really mess with our fears that we all carry in the night. So I'm going to start off easy with, a scary story that I'm pretty sure everyone has heard at one point or another. It can take place in any college that, or any school really, that has a library and allows students to stay afterwards. So without further ado, here we go. One night, a student was staying late in the library and studying. And she was, pretty tired because it was around 1 a.m. and she had early classes. When she hears a book fall somewhere else in the library. Now, normally this wouldn't have bothered her except for the fact that she hadn't seen any other students for a good hour or two. She hadn't even seen the librarian. So she gets up and goes towards the sound. She doesn't find any books on the ground and returns to her stuff. Collecting her items, she walks back to her dorm room. And not wanting to wake her roommate, since the lights are off and she hears heavy breathing from her roommate's side of the room, she undresses in the dark, puts her headphones on, lays down, and goes to sleep. The next morning, she wakes up hearing a drip, drip, drip sound onto the hardwood floor. She rolls over onto her side so she can see her roommate, only to see blood cooled on the floor, and on the walls, a message saying, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light?" So this story basically follows all of our fears that, somewhere in the dark, there's something that we're not seeing that could drastically change our lives forever. Now, I know this story may not have been the best executed, but I thought that maybe an explanation behind it and an intelligent discussion on it may actually fuel, some comments, about stories you'd like to hear, what you think. I am legitimately interested in hearing your opinions on this. Now, before I leave you for the night, I'll tell you one more story. This story, I will not give an explanation to. One night, a child was walking home from school. And, it was during the winter, so night would be correct in saying. The sun was already almost fully set, and the child had a decent bit to walk, having missed the bus due to detention. The child's parent could not pick them up due to either being at work or some other parental duty. Because let's face it, people, while our children should be our top priority, money turns out to be more important than our children to us in many situations. That aside, the child was walking home. Now, there had been some news reports of children going missing. But of course, it could never happen to them, right? So the child continues walking and takes the typical shortcut that they always did, through the cemetery. Now, this cemetery was well walled in by the surrounding city. Originally, the town had been a small one. So, it's no surprise that eventually industrialization took over, taller buildings, smaller windows, and less open space. As the child walked through the darkening cemetery, they started to hear footsteps behind them. The child picked up their pace because, let's face it, you hear footsteps in a cemetery behind you, you're going to start going a bit faster. The footsteps quickened. The child ran, dropping their backpack, anything everything that was in the backpack spills onto the concrete. The footsteps keep going. The child runs as fast as they can, gets to their house, slams the door, and locks it shut tight. Running into his parents' bedroom, the child sits, shaking, terrified of the footsteps that they had heard, of the risk that the child may be following them still. A few minutes later, the child realizes, I don't hear anything, so it must all be over, right? Over the next couple days, the kid doesn't have anything else going on, having winter break just begun. So, kid's sitting at home, parents at work, when there's a knock on the door. It's a pretty safe neighborhood, not a gated community, but still one of the better neighborhoods in the area. So the kid thinks nothing of going to the door, unlocking it, and opening it. No one ever heard or saw the child again. Parents come home to an empty house, and a picture they see on the ground of their dear child. It's the kid's school ID. On the back of it is the kid's home address, along with the note that says, "Watch out. I'm coming for everyone." Have a nice night, kids.